And what's up, Av Geeks and STOL Freaks? Welcome to Sun and Fun 2025. We're here at Paradise City, not too far from the Bushwheel Base Camp and where the STOL Invitational happens. My name's Ryan Dembroski. I'm joined with Cam Walton. And we are joined with the STOL Queen herself, Anitra Goddard. Anitra, thank you so much for joining us today here at Paradise City.
Oh, thanks for having me on. I'm so excited to be here with you guys.
So, Anitra, I've got my little crib sheet here. You've got a long resume when it comes to Sun and Fun. It says you're the chairman of the Bushwheel Base Camp, but STOL Queen. It says that on your cart over there, STOL Queen Bushwheel Base Camp. Can we dive into what does that mean? How did you become STOL royalty?
Well, actually, it started right here with National STOL. I first met Doug and Tom Flannery, the owners of National STOL. Then, here in 2020, for the Central Florida Classic, we were just coming out of COVID. Everyone had been shut down. It was like one of the first events that we had in the area. I live local here. I grew up on this airport, so the administration made me the STOL chairman to work the air show control. So, fun fact that a lot of people might not know, I was actually the STOL chairman for Sun and Fun before I got involved with National STOL directly. So, I watched the show and I fell in love with STOL and I walked up to Doug and I'm like, hey, I've been watching this show, and I'm an events organizer, and I think that I can help you improve the spectator experience, and I'd like to do that. So if you ever have a need, and they called me a couple months later, and now it's evolved into this.
And now here we are.
Oh, and the STOL Queen name, Josh, I got that from Josh Richling.
So it's his fault.
It's his fault, and it stuck.
Josh Richling, of course, is the crew chief for Steve Henry.
Yes.
In Yeehaw, whatever number he's up to now.
8, I think it is, yes.
So, talk to us a little bit about what we can expect at the Bushwheel Base Camp. We've had day 1 is in the books yesterday. What can people expect the rest of the week?
Well, if you're here on site, I would invite you to come out tonight. We've got the jambalaya dinner. It's open to everybody. We've got free craft beer. We've got great forums all week. The STOL Invitational that's right here on the grass strip is happening Thursday, Friday. We've got raffles and t-shirts and bush planes and lots of bush planes.
Lots
of bush planes. I was so excited that Sun and Fun opened this up. We've always done the Invitational here, 5 years this year we've done this. We've worked together a lot, all of us, over the years, and it used to be just right here, the STOL demo pilots in a little corral, not accessible really easily to fans and people that are interested in the bush planes. And last year, Sun and Fun acted on finally what they've been seeing over the years, the trends that STOL is in all the GA magazines. It's fast growing. There's a huge interest in it, and they just kind of gave me the keys to the corner lot there and said, let's do a backcountry area, and we did.
That's pretty cool. It's been a pretty fun time.
It has been absolutely fun.
Cam, what was your favorite moment from last night?
So
day 1.
I wasn't on the field, but what I did get to hear from here was how many times everybody scratched except for 3 pilots.
Yeah, I think the only one. Oh, I think Levi's the only one that got on the board.
Okay.
Nobody scored except for Levi.
Okay, well then I'm
not
wrong.
Scored. A recorded measured distance, because this is a demo. It is not a competition.
No one's competing. We're just demoing. But so this is, to paint the picture for folks, on the other side of these cameras is that grass runway. And you can go to YouTube and check. We actually have a gyrocopter taking off right now as we're doing these interviews. You can go check out on YouTube. We did a little live stream of the demo last night. You can see that on Thursday and Friday.
Yes.
It's a tight pattern that's required here at Sun and Fun. And then we were in the pilot briefing yesterday, and it's like, now there's the NOAA building where the hurricane hunters live. You can't be below the roof line of that. After that, there's all these very specific things that are happening. So I wonder, Anitra, if you think, is it just for the pilots as they're getting their I was going to say sea legs, but this is an air show.
Yeah.
Air legs?
Air legs.
Getting
legs?
getting used to the show site. Do you think that had to do with it? Do you think it was wind or?
Well, it was quite hot yesterday, and we did not have as much wind. In the debrief and just the general chatter around the base camp after we got settled, I heard a couple of the pilots say that the wind just kind of fell out. So, and in the way that it's structured out here, we've got a tree line that cuts off right in close proximity to the target line, which it can get really weird with the winds depending on which way they're coming. You get some funny rotors off those trees, and so combination of the heat and the tree line, and we didn't have practice really, so it's their first time flying. They tend to always dial it in by Thursday. They're all out there tinkering with their airplanes, tweaking it. Keith's like, I didn't even turn the NOS on.
Yeah, I was talking to Keith. Keith Lang is who Anitra's talking about. He's got a new plane here, but he's flying Pepper, his kind of like standard Super Cub, and he was like, yeah, I have to get it dialed in for the show. I was just talking to him just before he showed up. That might lead into, Cam, you and I were talking about it, the things that you're excited to see here at the STOL Invitational at Bushwheel Base Camp. You and I did a little pre-interview, so I already kind of know what your answers are, but what are like the top 3 things that you're really excited about this week?
Well, obviously the STOL Invitational, our dinners. There's just so many great things going on. We had a talk earlier, but I've been driving around and I've seen so many other things that are going on that I've heard about. It's hard to pinpoint what my favorite thing is, what I'm most excited about. I mean, I'm doing it all. The STOL Invitational, the pilots, the camaraderie we have going on out there. I mean, Trent Palmer's, the owner of his Freedom Fox, flew in yesterday and that staged out there, and he broke his tail wheel when he came in, and Patriot, Don Wade and his crew, right, fixed his airplane. They've been wrenching and helping people, get their things dialed in. So that's what I'm most excited about, the culture that we're creating here. And we've got the seaplanes just across from us. And we all know that in Florida, a seaplane, float plane, is the real Florida bush plane. For Florida, that's your bush plane, is your float plane. So we've worked together with them, and we share space, and we're going to collaborate a lot in the future. But the forums, all the education that we have going on in the base camp, I'm excited about the whole thing.
It's awesome.
It's beyond awesome. It's airplanes.
Hashtag airplanes. Hashtag STOL.
Hashtag, BWBC, Bushwheel Base Camp. Yeah, that's what, BWBC.
People watching at home, they want to get more information on what's happening here this week. Are there any social accounts they should follow, anything like that?
Yeah, we've got Facebook and Instagram. Instagram, we're STOL.flysnf. It is the official STOL page for Sun and Fun. And then we have STOL headquarters for Sun and Fun. I don't put those keywords in the search bar, you'll find it. And we have a group, the STOL Invitational group, where it's a little more interactive, where people that are here are posting. And then, more importantly, the Sun and Fun website, flysnf.org. Just type in STOL in the search bar, and both of our pages that we have related with the Invitational and the base camp has all of our schedules on there and links to buy tickets, camping, and just to see what we're doing.
That's awesome. It's a cool place.
It's the Bushwheel Base Camp.
It's a cool place that we're at, and Anitra, thank you so much for inviting us to come be part of it this year. I've been a few years out from Sun and Fun, and it feels like a little like coming to maybe my southern vacation home.
Yes.
To visit everybody. So thank you so much for joining us, folks. Stick around. We've got more interviews coming up here from Paradise City, Bushwheel Base Camp, hashtag Bushplane, hashtag SNF, hashtag all of it. We'll be right back.
Looking for a more affordable entry into bush plane flying? How about paramotoring, aka the dirt bike of the sky? Paramotoring STOL is the next best thing, and this adventure motor that you wear on your back is your ticket to getting airborne quick. At Aviator Paramotor, our 2-week training takes you from zero to hero.
Sunrise this morning, it was beautiful. There was a thin layer of fog flying. It's just like all the stress and all that kind of just floats away. It's really peaceful.
From no experience to feeling confident and competent flying on your own. Let the team at Aviator Paramotor in Lake Wales, Florida teach you your new superpower of running into the sky. Classes are filling up quick, but there are spots available today, so call now. Side effects include, but not limited to, significant life changes, foot drags, ear-to-ear smiles. Find the extreme freedoms of ripping around the skies in your new adventure motor with friends.
I think I said in the moment, I was like, none of us will ever forget this specific Rocky Mountain STOL. And for the context, just to add a little context for the viewers at home, like 75-mile-an-hour wind gusts with like a 5-minute warning or something from the National Weather Service. And we were literally like using our bodies to hold aircraft down.
Yeah. And people were sitting in their airplanes with the controls to try to keep them on the ground.
Yeah, very intense. But what was cool about that, the silver lining, if you will, for me, was that everyone just pitched in.
Yeah.
The city, the windstorm lasted long enough. You guys were able to mobilize the city resources to help create wind breaks for the aircraft.
Yeah, brought all the snow equipment out, put it in front of the airplanes, tied everything down. Townspeople came out and helped. It was great.
And maybe, I don't know if you know from John and Angela, Douglas's, they were calling town and saying all hands on deck, out to the airport, everybody come out that can come out. They were texting people from their church, from their people groups just around town, and people were coming from town to help. So that was pretty cool.
Shout out to John and Angela. Angela being our resident beef stick lady.
Yeah, I don't think she...
She'll love that you mentioned that.
That's like, we're dropping inside jokes now. So, more context from Ryan. So their partners in crime come to the events and to promote Rocky Mountain STOL, hand out various meats.
We also promote the town of Pinedale.
Right.
Half Moon
Beef
Lake
jerky.
Lodge.
Yeah.
Beef jerky.
Buffalo jerky,
And we
elk, venison, whatever.
And we have wonderful contests like the best eyebrows, the best mustache, who's got the best smile. We're all about the people.
Yeah, I almost forgot about that.
All about the people. Anyway, it's not typically what happens is we're sitting there and we're doing the live stream, and then like mysteriously like a stick of roadkill beef or whatever will show up like on the announcer's desk. So that's what we're talking about. You just got to watch all the National STOL broadcasts to see that. It'll probably happen in a week at Swamp STOL. Oh my God, where are we going to be?
Family.
Okay, so I want to get to we got to get to an issue here. We got to talk about it a little bit. So why? So you're both so passionate about this. Where does that passion come from? Where did you find that passion for STOL, passion for aviation?
It's funny you say that. I'm retired. I have no passion. But I like working on airplanes, and it's even more fun to fly. So I am a pilot, and I am an aircraft mechanic as well. John and I go back to A&P school. He was in A&P school with me 40 years ago. And I live in Tennessee. I go out in Pinedale during the summers because it's overpopulated at 2,000 people, my kind of environment. And during my business, he said, when you retire, come out and help me. I went, okay, in the summers. So we went out in the winter one year for a couples retreat at Red Cliff Bible Camp in February. Let me see. You had to snow coach or snowmobile in, and we were on 6 feet of snow. That was my introduction to Pinedale. Now, I don't go back out in the winter because it was 35 below this past winter, but I go out during the summers. It's really nice. We get away from the humidity of Tennessee. Great people, wonderful town, all kinds of things if you're an outdoors person to do.
I think as far as the passion for aviation, Bruce has loved aviation for over 40 years, and Oshkosh, EAA, and the STOL event is just something that when they were training at their school at Bob Jones University at aviation school, they majored on missionary aviation, so there was a lot of Bushwheel training back then when they were kids, when we were all kids. So we love that, and then we love people, and our passion is for people and for aviation, and you put those two together, and I think it makes a pretty good event. And we love working with National STOL. They're fantastic.
You're fantastic.
Yeah.
We thank you for
And
being
part
who
of the
you
people
are.
is you have so many people willing to volunteer and come out and help with this event.
Yeah.
I mean, without the volunteers, we wouldn't be getting to do this.
Right.
That's what we are, is basically volunteers. And we do a lot during the event, not just sit back and watch.
Yeah, as far as the city interaction with the events goes last year, I didn't get to go to all the events, but the ones that I did get to go to last year, Pinedale was the one. Like, the whole city was involved. Everybody was cool. Like you said, it's about the people and the airplanes. And I forgot that there were airplanes there. There were so many cool and gracious people for us to be there that thanked us for just showing up.
Yeah.
Yep.
You mentioned volunteering. You've been so that a lot of National STOL is built on volunteering. Do you have any advice for folks that might be interested in getting involved in volunteering? Sun and Fun is built on volunteers.
Yeah.
AirVenture is built on volunteers. This whole thing that we all love is built on volunteer hours. But what advice do you have for people that are thinking about volunteering?
Well, first you have to explain volunteering a little bit. See, I went in the military at 17. I did a lot of volunteering I really didn't want to do. Now, this isn't anything like the military. So now that I'm out in the civilian world, guess what? I enjoy volunteering because I can go do things and help. And they put me in interesting places almost every time. The people you get to meet, like Hal Stockton stays with me when out in Wyoming. Neat guy. I hate that his plane got burned last year, but he should be out this year. I think he's ready to come back.
And what do you do when you volunteer for National STOL?
They actually have me keep score in the booth during the volunteering. Evidently, they like I don't talk a lot in the tent.
You can't tell that right now, though.
No, I don't usually talk this much. She's the mouthpiece here.
I think volunteering, Ryan, is, I think if you're going to volunteer for anything like Operation Airdrop, Operation Hilo, you just put everything you have into it, do 100%. And, when Karen needs help, we try to be there to help her. When Angela needs help, you just jump in. Look online and see where the opportunities are. Every STOL event needs help. Every single STOL event. And Operation Airdrop needs help. Operation Hilo. All these other things, they need our help. And if you're retired, especially, you have a few hours you can share with other people and make people's lives different.
The other thing you got to remember, we are from Tennessee, and you know the Tennessee slogan. We're the volunteer state.
Yeah.
That was good. I was like, show me. No, wrong state. Wrong one. That doesn't make any sense.
That's misery.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that, Cam.
You just, like, half the viewers just clocked off, you guys. Just offended a whole
I'm
state.
sorry, Missouri.
Sorry, Missouri. We love
I'm
you.
not sorry because I'm an Arkansas Razorback fan, and no Mississippi. No thank you.
So, I think the one thing I want to highlight about what you just said was, in volunteering and giving of yourself for this thing we're all very passionate about, the little side effect is you also get access to things that you might not ever get access to normally, right? If you come in and you put in that time, you get to develop relationships with people you might not normally get introduced to. You might be able to get closer to an airplane that you always want to get close to. Whatever your particular passion is, that volunteering opens that up a bit. I know that's certainly been my experience.
Absolutely, same here.
Breaks down doors for you.
And here again, you're correct. It's about the people. It's who you get to meet, where you get to meet, social mobilization, where you're going to go. Years ago, we used to play Legends cars, race cars. We used to donate to the Mark Colley Celebrity Race, which was for diabetes research. We would actually donate our car to some celebrity to drive in a race. All that money went to the Diabetes Foundation. We believe in volunteering and helping each other. That's what this country was built on.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to wrap it up there, and what a great idea and thought to wrap it up with. The idea that we're all in this together, we're all trying to volunteer. Folks, we have to go back to another commercial, and then we'll be back with even more interviews here at Paradise City. We're 500 feet from the runway?
Yeah.
Look at that windsock blow. Thank you so much for your time today. We can't wait to see you in Pinedale and the rest of the circuit. We'll be back after this.
Goodbye.
And we are back here at Sun and Fun 2025 in Paradise City, just feet away from where the STOL Invitational is going to be happening later this week. We had a great showing last night. One of the folks that helped us with that showing is sitting here in front of us. We got Doug Jackson, also Russ Keith. Doug is actually one of the founders of National STOL. Russ Keith, you know that name from Airplanes and Coffee. Is it the premier Facebook community, among other things? It's also a nonprofit. It does a lot. We're going to get into it. But gentlemen, hello. Thank you for joining us.
Hello.
Good
we didn't even talk an Operation Airdrop. We don't have enough time to talk about all the stuff you guys do.
All the good stuff, not just stuff.
Let's start real quick. Let's get some hanger flying out of the way, though, if that's all right with you.
Yeah,
Can I
let's do
take
it.
the reins on that?
Yes, sir.
Doug, flying the BLT, Badlands Travelers back in action.
It is.
How was it last night?
Well, with a whopping 7 hours on it since I got it back, I'm not going to be really impressive this week. That was that STOL Takeoff and Landing that I did yesterday was exactly the first one that I've done since I got it back.
Okay.
So I'm very well practiced up in the airplane. It's going to be amazing. It handles totally different than before. Having some cooling issues right now with that new engine that I was fighting yesterday, but yeah, I'm impressed.
What sort of things have you done to it to upgrade it? Because this was one of the original, I'm going to call it the bacon, lettuce, tomato. I don't know why. It's one of the original Badlands Travelers.
Well, as you may or may not know, I owned serial number 4, which was the yellow one with the 152 wing, which Keith Geiger now owns. And then I bought the one you see now. And when I got it 5 years ago, I had a 172 wing on it. And I flew that for several years. And then we decided to put the new wing on it, which turned into, well, let's recover it, which turned into, well, let's change the paint, which 2 years later I have it back, you know. So yeah, it's a completely different airplane, different gear legs, different interior, everything's changed. We reversed the paint scheme. Used to be blue in the front, now it's blue in the back. We added a 5th color, but cosmetically it's changed. But the big thing is that wing. It's the same engine, it's the same prop, it's the same tires, but that wing is it's a game changer. I took some photos coming down because I had people just blowing up my phone. Well, how's it fly? How's it, and so as fate would have it, exactly 2 years ago, I was flying it down here, and in exactly the same place up around Cross City, up in there, I had snapped a photo of the panel. And so when I realized that, I took another photo of the panel, and it was exactly 15 miles an hour faster now with the same tires. So, and nothing changed with the wing. So
I would say that's very effective, right? So it's 15 mile an hour faster, but what about slower?
From what I can tell, it's about 5 to 7 miles an hour slower in the stall.
Okay.
But most importantly, it's got much more roll effectiveness. More. It just feels so in control, down low, down slow. Aileron's still effective. It's pretty neat.
Yeah.
So that's the Badlands Traveler update. The other update to the gentleman to your right. You're on my. Never mind. It's a professional
all
show.
Of our
Okay.
rights.
Russ, you started flying something kind of unique.
I did. I purchased a Chinook Plus 2. I want to grow up be just like Dan Reynolds when I finally grow up. And I flew it for the first time at Lone Star and won the rookie class in it. So I'll be competing, I guess, next week in the Swamp STOL in the light sport, or not the light sport, but the sport class. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to a good season of STOL flying this year. It's going to be a lot of fun.
A pretty impressive showing, like right out the gate. Only way to go, no pun intended. The only way to go from here is up. What can we look like? How many events are you going to bring the Chinook to this year?
I'm scheduled in my calendar for 6, but I'd like to make 8. So it all depends on how things lay out. There's a few factors that I don't have real control over, so we'll see what happens.
Well, if you need us to solve any problems for you, just let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. Come to all of them.
Yeah, I'm afraid the Midwest at 70 miles an hour would be a long ride.
That's what you signed up for, brother. That's what you signed up for when you bought that airplane.
Well, that's kind of true.
There's a reason Dan has a trailer.
There's a reason Dan has a trailer. And there's a reason Russ wants a trailer.
There we go.
Maybe another sponsor or two, and we'll get one.
Yeah, so Doug, so full circle, once again, I'm going to talk about it all week. Full circle, this was my first indoctrination into taking photos professionally of airplanes. After doing it just as a hobby, then I got to talk to Anitra, got to hang out, and then we met in 2021 at the Central Florida Classic here. But you are the founder of National STOL. So what brought you from your racing career, right? You raced Baja, if I remember correctly. What brought you from the cool event of Baja to another cool event, National STOL?
Well, I've told this story a lot of times, and it's absolutely true. It's December the 27th of 2019. I was sitting on a sandbar on the Brazos River with a few guys, one of them being Steve Pierce, which we all know. And we called it our Sunday morning church at the bar, the sandbar. But I don't know how it came up. Somebody said, man, I wish they had STOL events, again in Texas. And there had been a STOL event down in the Hondo area that went on for several years, but that gentleman had decided not to do it anymore. And somebody said, well, you been around events and racing and all this stuff, why don't you do one? I said, well, it can't be that hard, I was wrong.
Famous last words.
Yeah. But
how hard can it be?
Literally, sitting on that sandbar, we said, let's do it. And our plan was to have one in October of 2020. That was our goal. And in a matter of days. When I say days, I'm talking 3 days. I had made some phone calls. I had Husky lined up to be the title sponsor. Had Ladd Gardner lined up. Had Darren Hart with Legend lined up. We had that first year. I looked at that poster, that banner I have hanging in my hangar, and like 30 or 40 sponsors. Everybody just was. My phone was blowing up. People want to be a part of this, and I was like, "This is wild." It caught me off guard, and but the overrunning story or request that I got was move it up and have it in the spring of 20. Looking back now, in a matter of about 75 days, from December the 27th to March the 15th, we pulled that thing together. And somewhere in the middle of all that, and I have no idea, well, let me back up a little bit. About the first week, I realized I needed a website. And I had met Tom Flannery through my charity, Operation Airdrop, and Tom reached out to me, and I don't remember why or how. I think I put it on Facebook. He said, I can help you build a website. And he put together this amazing website in just a matter of days. And then he said, we ought to live stream this thing, or you ought to live stream this thing or produce it. And I was like, well, you want to help me? And he goes, yeah. And so we come up with this crazy idea to hire a TV production company. And we've hired, it was a live air show, and they showed up, and that event, everybody knows the history about the rain and the problems we had, but we had 80 pilots signed up, had 40 made it there through the rain and the storms and all that stuff, and had a crazy event. It was cold, it was wet, it was rainy, but everybody had a blast, and we decided we had to do it again, and then about that week, maybe a few days before that, we started hearing this. Somebody said, there's this thing called, it wasn't called COVID at the time, it was called something else. Coronavirus coming out. I was like, I don't know what that is. And man, as the day got closer and closer, we started getting nervous because we heard about people canceling events. We had heard that going to cancel Sun and Fun. And I literally expected the morning of the event for the city of, and we picked a venue, Gainesville, Texas. I expect them to come out there and say, y'all can't do this thing. You can't have this event. But we did. We pulled it off, and that was the last event, aviation event in the United States prior to after COVID hit. And the next event was
us.
Well, no, actually, the next event I had forgotten they had Arkansas in October.
Oh yeah, we did. Yep.
And then we came down, and then sometime along in there, Sun and Fun called me. Someone from Sun and Fun reached out to me and said, "Hey, we weren't able to have Sun and Fun, but we want to do a winter festival, and we'd like y'all to come down and put on a STOL contest." And so we agreed. And I think they called in October, and we pulled this thing together and had it. Was the first week of December, I think it was. And looking back, thinking back now to what Karen and Tom and everybody does to put this thing together, and Eric, and how long it takes to put an event together, and the fact that we put that first one together in 75 days from scratch. And if I called Karen right now and said, "Hey, let's do one in 2 months," she would freak out, because all the things you have to do to make it happen. But we did it, and it was pretty cool, looking back. But this one went off, and then we came back for Sun and Fun that next in 21, and the rest is history.
Yeah, now we're 5 years in. Well, 5 years.
5 years.
I can math.
Yeah.
We're 5 years
the
in.
5th year, yeah.
Kicking off a season, National STOL now is going to be at 11 events, I think, this year, all over the country. Is there like does that feel good? Like, you have pride about that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I tell everybody, and this is nothing against Karen or Tom or National STOL or anything, but to me, the competition is just a reason to get everybody together. I like the competition, but I love hanging out with everybody.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I mean, it's been great to see you stay engaged in it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You're just always showing up. I get a lot of really firm handshakes from Doug, and it's always a nice thing to see him every time. I want to shift gears a little bit to this thing that you're both involved in, because you talked about the camaraderie, and I think that probably leads in a lot of ways to this other thing. We've got to talk about Operation Airdrop. I don't even know where to start with that. It's just this amazing thing that you've built. If you had to tell someone who knows absolutely nothing about it, what would you tell them about Operation Airdrop, what they should know about it?
Well, I mean, you want to start with the history, how it started, or because it was so grassroots. It was literally, I owned it at the time. This all started in 2017 when Hurricane Harvey hit the Gulf, and I owned a trailer company at the Texas Custom Trailers at the time, and a friend of mine called me from Rockport, Texas, and when it first made landfall. If anybody remembers, Hurricane Harvey came in on shore, basically South Texas, and went back out in the Gulf, built, and came back in on Houston. Well, this buddy of mine called me. He said, "Man, we got wiped out down here. We need, you know anybody could gather up some supplies." So we put it out a Facebook post, I think, with our Texas Custom Trailers, and in 24 hours we had 2 trailer loads of stuff, and I drove one down, and a friend of mine drove the other one down, and we stayed a couple of days and started back. We kind of set up a little redneck Walmart in a parking lot down there, just giving away stuff, and more people saw us there, and they brought stuff, and then more people brought stuff, and anyway, that little 2 trailer loads that we started with morphed into about 10 trailer loads in 24 hours or 36 hours. We came literally driving home. I had this thought, man, I know all these pilot friends, and we were starting hearing about some of these communities that were cut off. The only way you could get there was flying. I mean, I bet I could get some people together, and I made some phone calls, called Robert Johnson and a couple other people, Glenn Smith, and that was like on a Tuesday, and we announced on Wednesday that we were going to go to Conroe, Texas on Friday. Had no idea who would show up, and we get to Conroe, and there's like 50 airplanes, and we filled a hangar full of stuff. And flying back home that day, I got a message from somebody. He said, "Hey, I've been talking to your command." This was a funny story. I was talking to your command center in Denton, and I said, "My what?" And and we decided to call it Operation Airdrop sometime along in there. Somebody asked, "What do you call this thing?" I said, "Operation Airdrop." So I keep hearing people say, "Yeah, we talked to your people at the command center in Denton," and I was like, "Okay, I don't know what you're talking about." And I called Robert. I said, "Do we have a command center in Denton?" He goes, "Not that I know of." I thought, I better go over there. So Saturday, I drive to Denton, and I walk in the FBO in the conference room, and I'm just completely blown away. There's these tables set up, and all these computer screens and whiteboards, and there's people on their laptops, and they're tracking our airplanes by N number. And I said, "Excuse me, who are y'all?" And he goes, "Who are you?" I said, "Well, I'm the founder of Operation Airdrop." He said, "Oh, we figured you needed some help because y'all were just out there rednecking it, so we're trying to track these planes so nobody gets lost and you don't lose an airplane." Or go, "Wow, that's cool." And those people turned into Larry Robichaux was one of them. He was a board member now, and so fast forward through the years, and the thing just kept growing. Well, all of a sudden, the next week after that, I was in Florida, here at Lakeland, believe it or not, and then I got a call from the Texas Rangers asking me if Major League Baseball players wanted me to go to Puerto Rico, and I'm end up on this private jet with all these Major League Baseball players, and I end up in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and I was like, this is just insane. And I come home after that, and that was the last of the hurricanes, thank God, for 2017. And then 18, they had the hurricane that hit up in Raleigh and Durham, and we set up there. My dad passed away during that time, and I didn't get to go. And then we came down to Gainesville right after that, Florida, and so it just kept growing and growing. And all of a sudden, somebody said, "You have 1,500 pilots signed up on your roster now." I'm like, wow. And when I say pilots, I'm talking individual aircraft from literally we had a Super Cub, and we had, when we were in Raleigh, we had Roush Racing. I think it was Roush Racing. donated 2 CRJs to us. Just take them. We had K-Max helicopters. We had everything coming out to fly for us. And, fast forward through the years, and then this thing hit last fall, hit North Carolina. And I called a friend of mine, Matt McSwain. I said, Matt, we're going to need some helicopters out there. And we had already decided we were going to Concord, right outside of Charlotte. And so Matt decided he would get some helicopters to go over at Hickory. Well, that turned into 100 helicopters, which now is Operation Hilo. And in those first day or two, this guy calls me and he goes, "Hey, do you need help?" And I was stressed. I was having a really, really bad day. We were having some issues with the airport, and it was just, the stress was just killing me. And I said, man, I need somebody just to come keep me from slitting my wrist, And he goes, I'm on my way. And he jumps in his airplane and flies, 10 hours or something?
It was crazy, yeah.
Day. And
172 from Dallas to North Carolina is a long ride, long trip.
Yeah.
But we he stayed there the week, and right about the week after, we had some internal struggles with our team and as personalities, and our whole executive team decided to leave. And so I put it out, posted I was looking for a new executive director, and we had collected enough money during that deal that we ended up giving several $1 million to charities out there, buying RVs and all that stuff. And I think we bought 155 RVs or something. I don't know. Something like that we bought. But anyway.
Among other things.
Yeah, among a lot of things. But when I put out the call that I was looking for executive director, Russ called me. He said, "Can I throw my name in a hat?" I go, it's floored me. I said, "You're kidding. Of all the things you got going on." And so I took the board. I said, "We got our guy." And of course, they were skeptical because they didn't really know him, but he won them over.
They knew who I was, but they didn't know me.
He won them over pretty quick, and then now he's hired these 2 heavy hitters to work for him, and so we went from this little, 7 guys flying stuff to 3 staffers and full-time staffers, and a lot of cool stuff going to be coming down the pike here in the next 12 months.
Yeah, we've got some big plans. We've got some big announcements coming out in the next 2 months. One I can get out right now is we're going to have a booth at Oshkosh. We want to meet as many pilots and sign up as many pilot volunteers as we can, as well as ground volunteers, and just meet the ones that came out and flew with us that I haven't met, because North Carolina was my first event that I ever attended. Doug and I met through Airplanes and Coffee. We became friends, really good friends, through National STOL, and then now I'm the executive director for Operation Airdrop, and I really want to meet as many of our pilots and volunteers as I possibly can. When I was in North Carolina, I was averaging flying 6 hours a day. I flew basically from Statesville over to Hickory, which was about a 20-minute flight. Mm-hmm. I was carrying insulin back and forth is what I was doing, I was carrying insulin from Statesville, where we were collecting it, over to the medical teams in Hickory to get out on the helicopters to go out to the people that needed it. So it was very cool, very, very cool.
That's amazing. That whole effort just leaves me speechless. Yeah. We should be so lucky to have the opportunity to help. Maybe this is where you tell me, Ryan, sign up.
Ryan, sign up.
Sign up to help.
And you sign up.
Yeah, you, whatever camera we're pointing at, You probably got it right, Doug. You always get everything right. You probably got the right camera.
Yep. We do have a new system that we're going in place, and the link to sign up should go live today. And you can go to operationairdrop.org and hit volunteer or join.
Is that live?
It is.
See, I didn't even know that. We've got our new
moving. It's moving faster than I can keep him up to date. But
we've been operation-airdrop.com for years and years, and now we've got our org
So you
alive.
can go to operationairdrop.org and skip the dash, and it'll take you to the web page. You can sign up as a pilot or a ground volunteer there. But yeah, we need as many people as we can that because when a disaster hits and we say, hey, we're leaving in 2 days to go to this location, if you think about it, not everybody can just drop what they're doing and say, I'll be there. So if we get 1,500 people sign up, or 2,000 or 3,000 people sign up, we may get 50, 75 airplanes there, and 100 ground volunteers, and that's really what we need as a minimum to pull off one of these operations, because it's quite the operation. If you've never been one and see what happens in that hangar running around, it looks like an ant colony, and it's controlled chaos is what it is, because everybody's grabbing the things that are slated for that particular flight. It's all weighed out, so they know exactly how much weight's going on which pallet to go to which airplane, so that we can get it out and make sure that we get the supplies that particular area needs and what they're requesting. So it's a really cool.
It takes literally hundreds of volunteers to make it, and I skipped a little bit a while ago. A lot of people don't know what we do really, and it's a very simple premise. Is in that day 1 to day 7, we'll call it, when the roads are either not open or clogged and congested, we step in and we find a location, a FBO that will host us. We reach out to our network, tell them where we're going to be, and then we find a receiver, a catcher. We have, we call it a pitcher and a catcher. We're the pitcher and we find a catcher, and we ask them what they need, and everybody always needs the same things. We have this list that hasn't changed now in 8 years, really.
Yeah. Basic humanitarian.
Yeah.
Sure.
If people said, what should I bring you? I said, if I take you and drop you in a helicopter off an island out there, what do you need? That's what these people need, because they have nothing right now. They need non-perishable foods. They need what amazed me is baby diapers.
We haul insulin.
Truckloads of baby diapers and insulin. We hauled over $75,000.
I don't know.
I'm sorry, no, that's not right. $275,000 worth
of
insulin in a matter of days. It's crazy, but what we do is we can't haul very much, but we can keep people alive for a few days. But as soon as those roads are open, we're not needed anymore. We stand down, except for some surgical missions, some things that people need.
Sure.
We've done some really cool things over the years that we can't discuss who the donors were, but I sent a Gulfstream G650 to Haiti, full loaded down with pediatric surgical equipment. I sent a G650, the same one, to Ukraine when that started. They couldn't land in Ukraine, so we landed right across the border, and they took the stuff over. But we've been involved in some really cool stuff over the years, and most of those big high-profile things, the donors don't want any. They don't want any press, and they don't want anybody to know who they were. And they donated hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of time and equipment, millions of dollars of equipment.
That's a really huge impact, and you mentioned the website before, because we have to wrap up here. OperationAirdrop.org. Did I get that right?
That's correct.
So the dash is gone.
The dash is gone.
The dash is gone. So thank you so much for doing that. Thank you for being part of this community and putting the community to work. I think it's so valuable, a way that we can use this passion of ours to help bring positivity into the world and really concretely help people. Folks, we've got another set of interviews in just a second. We'll be right back from Paradise City after this.
think I've got 2 years to go and I'll have my 50 years in as a flight instructor. I've had a lot of exposure to tail wheel, handling, behavior, and so when I picked the Legend, I knew what I was looking for. I needed an airplane with a little more versatility, so Legend was generous enough or kind enough to provide me with some modifications that enhance the flexibility of the airplane. And that's the advantage of the Legend. They're very good about letting you configure the airplane to your desires. And in my case, they actually did some additional engineering because some of my requests changed loads on the wings, and some re-engineering had to take place. So it was very accommodating for them to provide the engineering and do the modifications for me.
We're back at Sun and Fun 2025 in Paradise City in the National STOL booth. I am joined with Ryan Dembroski. We are your dynamic duo for National STOL, and we are also joined by another dynamic duo which do the operations for LDs and National STOL and STOLDrag and all the STOL things and non-STOL things. We've got Roger, and we've got, oh my goodness, Steve. I almost forgot your name.
Oh, because his eyes are piercing you into your soul.
That's going to cost me $20.
Hey, you owe me a beer now.
I do owe you a beer, especially from last night. I didn't see you, so yes.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. You, like Cam said, you're involved in a lot of stuff, but maybe the headline thing is STOLDrag, which is like we've got a lot of pilots that participate in both National STOL and STOLDrag. For folks that don't know, what's like the 5-second STOLDrag? What is it?
Yeah, so STOLDrag is unlike traditional STOL, is more of a racing. So we are on a 2,000-foot course with a 1,000-foot overrun on either end. Start at one end, land on or beyond the line at the 2,000-foot mark, turn around, come back, land and stop. And it's all based on time, not feet. So the shortest time wins.
And that's done head-to-head, two aircraft side by side.
And we run 75-foot wide lanes. You know, a bunch of guys in the Nevada desert just thought, hey, traditional STOL is really fun, but you get 4 or 5 beers down, and well, how do we make that more fun? And it's go race side by side. What's cool? Drag racing is cool, but how do you drag race down one end, bring them back? Started at, I think we did a mile, and realized even our radios weren't good enough for that, walkie-talkies, and then worked it down to 2,000 feet. And now we're the most recent class at the Reno Air Races in the last, I think it's just over 20 years.
It's really cool. It's really fun to watch.
It's extremely exciting. Like, I will say that, like, out of all the STOL competitions, like the big ones like Arkansas STOL, Birds Backcountry Flight Festival, and National STOL, STOLDrag is just super exciting to watch because you got 2 aircraft going head to head. They're matched, maybe a little mismatched. You know, someone's got they got a flux capacitor, you know, going on.
No, 4.
You're going all the way down the runway, and then halfway down, you go into a full slip. Like, it's just...
Yeah, yank the power, slip the airplane sideways, and it's all about power and energy management. And these are all skills that we hope these pilots are using all the time.
Right.
You know, it's like all of aviation, right? It's not currency, but proficiency, right? So somebody showing up to this event, they're not just showing up to a National STOL event or STOLDrag unpracticed, right? We want people practicing these skills all the time, just so you can showcase them at an event. But currency is not enough, and that's what Kevin Quinn, who's the creator of STOLDrag, that's what he pushes, right? Is proficiency, not just getting you 3 night landings like folks generally do. And you know, for National STOL, it's the same way. Like you said, it's a lot of the pilots back and forth between the 2 events, right? And you need to be well practiced for the safety of yourself and every other volunteer, the announcers, everybody that's there working. It's all about safety, and that's primarily where Steve and I come in, is especially at this event, right? Steve is in charge of all the folks on the opposite side of the field, personnel-wise. I'm working with the air boss for aircraft safety, right? We're essentially He's a human spotter. I'm an aircraft spotter for this specific event. We're going to go do the same thing at Valdez here, as you mentioned, in a couple of weeks, and have been doing STOLDrag events for a long time. It's a silly amount of fun. It's a lot of work, but airplanes are cool, right?
Airplanes.
Like being around airplanes is awesome.
It's worth it.
And this group of people's just, you guys know, you talk to these pilots all the time. It's just such an amazing group.
And we get to hang out with Ryan too.
Well, it's fine. I'm adequate. You hit a couple of things that you said a couple of things I wanted to hit on. One was, we shouldn't forget, like, you're here helping Anitra with the STOL Invitational and all the stuff there, and bringing that organizational help. And then you mentioned the pilot switching back and forth. I think what's kind of cool about that is you have someone like Steve Henry, for example, who's a strong, almost unbeatable competitor in both series. And he will actually reconfigure his aircraft depending on what he's doing. And there have been a couple times where we've had National STOL and STOLDrag together, and he's wrenching on it, changing it, reconfiguring it between those two runs.
As soon as the event stops, you'll see he and Josh jack up the airplane. And for STOLDrag, they'll put the little studded tires on there. And then for doing the traditional STOL, National STOL event, he's got the big tires back on there. STOLDrag's a lot about braking, right? Because you're not going to scrub all that speed in the slip when you're coming back to the line. So guys that can, especially like Steve, holy smokes, there's nobody faster, nobody better than Steve in STOLDrag. But it's great that he's got good competition, right, with Dan Reynolds and now Keith's new airplane.
Right.
It's awesome that, there's not just one person out here blowing the doors off everybody. And with classes and, the heavy touring and bush class and experimental, run what you run. You don't have to be Steve Henry to come out and enjoy it and have fun.
It helps.
It does help to be that fast. But we had Aaron Greer bring out a Cessna 182. I wasn't at the event, but I heard there was a Comanche that came out and tried some traditional STOL at one point. STOL Manche, I think they called it.
Yeah. Timmy Fonseca, who's coming. He's coming today. And I don't know if he's bringing the Comanche or not.
Yeah, I just saw the video and I was super excited because it's just unique and fun, and we're all about safety, but you don't have to be a super rich guy. You don't have to spend $1 million. You don't have to build Draco to come out and compete, right? You can do it in a Cessna that maybe somebody bought 10 years ago for $25,000. You don't have to win. Just come have fun, be safe, learn something new, and especially sit around a bunch of pilots that have a bunch of knowledge they can give you, right? What's safe, what's not. And this group is confident enough that they can walk up to you and say, hey, you're doing something wrong. Not in those words, but hey, here's how we can help you improve, right? And it's good constructive criticism, because we can't afford anybody to get hurt anywhere, at any air show.
Yeah.
Well, I want to switch gears for just a second.
Switch some gears.
Because you two guys are pretty unique individuals. I would like to say everybody here is unique, everyone's unique. But you guys have some cool personal things going on. Like, Roger, you are heavy in the sim world, aren't you?
I did that for quite a while. 1982 was Sublogic was the first flight sim I got on the Commodore 64. Just ever since, I thought flight simulators were cool, right? I was never going to get to fly every jet in the world, so go do it in the sim, right? So, did some work with a company or a group called the Virtual Blue Angels, and flew the Blue Angels demo start to finish from a dark jet to a dark jet, and that sort of led into some other things. We've actually had some really unique opportunity with a lot of the STOLDrag and National STOL pilots. We've taken the Blue Angels, the Thunderbirds, and the Snowbirds flying. The Thunderbirds, we took them flying in a handful of Stearman and T6s out of Mather. We couldn't coordinate the backcountry guys, but to take them up on a bunch of warbirds and see what their skills look like between the two is pretty interesting. But we got to take the Snowbirds flying, so it's been an interesting transition and a lot of fun. Just being an IT guy my entire career, that's how I kind of got started in STOLDrag. And it's like any event. If you sort of look like you know what you're doing, somebody grabs you and says, "Hey, can you help over here?" So
that's how we ended up sitting here.
Yeah.
I was at the High Sierra flying, and there were too many airplanes, and I was, I can help park airplanes. And then it's, hey, well, can you help us do this? And how about this? And then, you gravitate towards a bunch of really awesome people, and you just want to keep doing it. Yeah. And there's hard days and there's good days, right? Some days are difficult, right? Setting up an event, what everybody's seeing online here, it's not just you two guys sitting here or us. There's tables and chairs and merchandise and cords and power, and there's so much that goes into these events, from feeding people to, it's the logistics, right? Yep. Logistics for us is super fun. Steve does a lot of programming. There's a lot of great ideas for our events. He's our headline judge at Reno, at our other STOLDrag events. And between this group, did I just get interrupted by the...
Well, I think, the national anthem, because I think the air show is about to kick off, which means we probably need to wrap up our interviews. But let's just power through it. I'll sing it again for you guys after we're done.
I do want to talk about Partner 91. I want to talk about Steve's company and your...
Oh, yeah. Long story short, I'm also a career IT guy. But one day I got fed up with it. I was done. Walked away from it. Retired early and started my own aircraft brokerage. So I sell airplanes for a living now. I love doing it because sometimes brokers have a not so good reputation. So I'm out to tackle the world on making sure that people realize there are really good brokers in the world. It's all about being honest, with people. So that's what I do full time. Thank you.
We've been talking about Steve selling me an airplane for a long time.
Yeah,
we'll make that happen eventually. Gentlemen, I think we need to wrap up, but real quick, where can people, you said there's a lot of stuff you're doing right now. Maybe let's talk about, STOLDrag. When can people come see STOLDrag this year? Where can they find you doing that? Valdez? What are all the places they can find you this year?
STOLDrag, STOLDrag.com, obviously, if you want to keep up. But this year, Roswell's the first year since Reno is no longer hosting the Reno National Championship race. It's been at Roswell, so we'll be doing it there. And every other year, and it will be odd years, is the High Sierra Fly-In is where it all started. It's north of Reno, highsierraflyin.com for information about that one. And I believe that's October 2nd through 5th. So, you can imagine 800 of your best friends and STOL airplanes and a lot of dirt and a lot of grime. Bring a toothbrush because your teeth and your eyes and everything fill up with dust, but it's
seriously the best time you can have in the backcountry.
And Kevin's made a bunch of efforts to bring some creature comforts out, toilets and food trucks and a big bonfire and a lot of neat things. And we're going to do that every other year. Just every other year. If you do it every year, maybe it gets a little tired. But
right.
If you do it every other year, drum up something new every couple of years, bring people back to it.
Cool. And then Valdez, you're going to be at Valdez this year.
Yeah,
which is the premiere. It's like the granddaddy of the STOL
I think the quote is, we did it first and everybody else stole it.
Yeah.
Zing.
Yep.
And so we went up there last year, and it's just one of those things where like, hey, it's Alaska, it's a STOL event, we have to go. And we showed up, we signed up to volunteer ahead of time, went up there to volunteer. And they appreciated it. We came with our own radios, our own vest, everything that you sort of fill in, kind of know what you're doing. And they called us up, this spring and said, "You're coming back, right?" So we said, "Yeah, absolutely." So we're going to go up there and go goof around and see more of Alaska, and then go down to Valdez and go help out with the event. It's pretty hard to beat the views up there.
Yep.
It's
awesome.
Unbelievable STOL country.
Very cool. Well. That hour flew by, Cam.
Man, it was very great.
Hour plus. We went a little over, but
yeah, I mean, we had to follow those.
But we
guys
were worth it.
Doing really awesome.
Yeah. You guys are. Yeah, you're worth it. Yeah, 100%.
I don't know. That whole Operation Airdrop makes me feel like I'm not doing much with my life, right? Those guys. That's awesome what those guys are doing.
We can all aspire to be Doug and Russ.
Yes.
That's what we can all do that.
That's awesome.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today. Thanks for filling
you.
us in on some of the other stuff that's going on in the STOL world. Thanks for helping out here. It's really cool to see the community come together and kind of show its best to the southern half of the United States, let's call it, or the early half of the air show. I don't know. We got to make sure that we're representing STOL everywhere we can, and it's awesome to see everyone come together and do it here.
If we could just move Sun and Fun to somewhere where there wasn't so much humidity, I would be
This breeze today, though.
Oh, this is really
Yeah?
nice compared
It
to the
feels
last couple. It's
real
been hot.
good.
Yeah.
So if you're here, drink lots of water because it is hot. It's humid. We'll get through it, but this breeze is nice.
Yeah, we'll get through it. We're going to have a blast doing it. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Everyone at home, be sure to tune in tomorrow at noon for more interviews. If you're in Sun and Fun, you're in Florida right now, come 5 o'clock, Jambalaya Night at the Bushwheel Base Camp.
Yummy.
Looking forward to that. And then, of course, tomorrow, interviews here at noon, and 7 o'clock, the STOL Invitational back on.
Back on.
Cam, thanks so much, my friend. Thank you at home. We will see you tomorrow.